I've started a new Facebook group called 𝗬𝗂𝗶𝗺𝗏𝗍, and the whole purpose of this is to co-create with the members a new range of carp baits that work better than, well, hopefully everything else on the market. The way co-creation works is, I've got a lot of experience in this for a long time with a lot of different companies, including bait companies. So I think I know the answers to things about how to make baits that work really well and catch fish quickly and make a difference. But I'm just one person, so however much experience I've got in this, however much skill I've got in this, I really need the feedback from other people. And normally in the past what I've done is I've gone around and asked a few people things. But with Facebook and social media, it means that I can get the help and the feedback from thousands of carp anglers. And it just speeds the whole thing up. So what I do now with the 𝗬𝗂𝗶𝗺𝗏𝗍 group is I come up with an idea, I put it in front of them on the group. If they like the idea, then I listen to the things they've been saying, tweak what I'm about to make into a prototype. I make a small batch, and then I send it out to say 50 of those anglers chosen at random. And then they give me the feedback of what they think about it. And on that basis, I'll change it, tweak it, modify it, bin it, or run with it. And it works really, really, really well, because even the people who haven't got any still give me their opinions. And it just works really well. It's very, very, very turbocharged, speedy way of developing baits. The whole point of me doing this is to make a range of baits, as I say, that work better than what's been on the market. If you think about it, baits haven't really changed. Carp baits haven't really changed much for a long time. But I've come up with something which does change everything.
It's important to say at this point, for anybody who doesn't know, David's track record in the fishing trade is about the best there is. He had several successful businesses, including Preston Innovations, 𝗬𝗶𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗏, Avid Carp, 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏𝗏𝗏. Sold them about 10 years ago for rather a large sum of money. But I want to actually go right back to the start now, David, because this wasn't a case of you being born into money. You made it all yourself. At one point, you hadn't got enough money to eat. So tell me about that transition from rags to riches.
Well, I do come from a poor background, and but I was also, I didn't know it at the time, but I was also, and still am, on the spectrum. So autism, ADHD, dyslexia, you know, the whole load of stuff. And it made my life very difficult and anxiety ridden. So what I used to do is I used to go fishing for big carp. And the thing about fishing for big carp, particularly in those days when there weren't many carp around, let alone big carp, is you have to be really obsessive. And it was one day I realised that it was the obsession that actually made my life bearable. So I like telling people about this. I did a guru podcast because I want people who also are on the spectrum to know that they're not alone, and it actually can work out really well for them. So I was fishing a place that I christened the Mangrove, and old carp anglers will have heard of this. It's actually called 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, but it looks like a mangrove to me, so that's what I called it. And it was great, but it wasn't, because I was still me, still living in my shoes and my skin. And I hadn't got enough money. Well, I hadn't got much of anything. I was just on a sun lounger, sleeping underneath inside a survival bag, getting absolutely soaked, no food, so my weight went down to 7.5 stone. And one day I had a thought, a deep philosophical, meaningful thought. I thought, well, why don't, instead of first of all, I realised it was the obsession that was actually making my life just about bearable. And then I thought, well, why don't I make my obsession something to do with that makes a bit of money as well, so that I'm not half starved to death. So then I thought, well, why don't I just make the obsession making money, which sounds really crass and shallow, but it wasn't really about the money, it was just about having an obsession. So that's what I did. I worked out how to make money, which it turns out is all about how you think about things. So it took me a fair while to work out how you change and direct your own thinking, and in my case to making money. But that's what I did, and after about a year of sort of researching this, because in the old days all you got is books, so I read and read and read about how people master their own thoughts. And after about a year I was ready to actually put something into motion. So I reprogrammed how I thought, and my goal was to make £1 million in 4 years. Well, I failed because it took me 5 years. But I can tell you, when I told everyone, you've got to remember I was dressed in rags, probably dirty and smelly for all I know, very, very poor, no credibility whatsoever. And I went around telling everyone, probably because I'm on the spectrum and didn't know any better, that I was going to make £1 million in 4 years. And there was a lot of mirth and laughter going on at my expense. But anyway, I did do it. And then from there on, I went on and just kept on expanding the business because it was fun.
So what was the first product you came out with as Preston Innovations?
Well, to me it's irrelevant because it's just about how you think about things, but I know everybody wants to know. So the first one was called adjustable bed chair legs that bolted onto loss leader B&Q sun lounges. So basically anyone could buy these at quite a low price compared to a Fox fully kitted out proper product with adjustable legs. They could just bolt these things on and be fishing on the level for once. And I sold them on mail order classified ads in some of the fishing papers and mags. And I called myself, because I wasn't very good at marketing then, Preston converted bed chair legs, until someone pointed out to me that might be a bit restrictive for future growth.
It's interesting, obviously, talking about your journey and how you have got the autism and being on the spectrum. Would you say it's been a help or a hindrance to you?
Well, it's a help in a way, because it's a motivation. I mean, I had to get out of where I was. I didn't know I was on the spectrum, but I knew I had to make my life more bearable, and that was because I was on the spectrum. And it helped me to think very simply about things. Like, working out, all right, why don't I make my goal making money, because it's just simple. But I think people who are not on the spectrum, neurocompliant I call them in a very rude way, they would never think that was a very sensible thing to do, even if they thought about it, because it's not, well, it's a bit materialistic. But I'm not materialistic at all. Money, I like having a bit of money, and I'm not starving to death anymore. But as you can see, I've only one step above dressed in rags because I don't really care. What was the question?
You just answered it perfectly. So this is the thing that I always find not surprising, because I know you, but I think a lot of people find it surprising. You built the business up over nearly 30 years, I suppose, sold it for a ridiculously high amount of money to an American company, and then you decided to start up again and do it all again. Why?
Well, bearing in mind that I'm on the spectrum, so I'm driven by things. I was bored, and I like, what brings me joy is not money, although it helps. What brings me joy is being creative and inventing things. And I just had some great ideas, all I thought were great ideas, to make some bait that would work better than what's on the market. And so I was driven by that. I mean, what's better than making something completely new that changes everything? It's just important to me.
So the one thing then that you created that changed everything in this case was fish accelerant, wasn't it?
That's yeah. That's the main thing. Is fish accelerant. You're going to ask me what fish accelerant is. Fish accelerant is a dispersal system that gets attractants and flavours out into the water really, really, really rapidly. It's a bit like emulsions, but 200 times faster. It's called 𝗲𝗷𝗍 technology. This is an existing thing. You can Google it. It's the particles are 1/200th the size of an emulsion particle, which are already measured in nanometers, are tiny, tiny, tiny things. But these things are so small that they're almost molecular, and they distribute themselves and get knocked about and travel really quickly in amongst the molecular structure, in this case of water. And it's what your body uses to get food out of your blood into your cells through the blood cell barrier. So it's really, really natural and effective. No chemicals involved in it whatsoever. But the point is, I worked out how to piggyback attractants, flavours and colours onto those micelle particles. So they're carried with it out into the water very quickly, far and wide, which means that the fish know it's there and want to come and investigate if the attractants are right, which they are.
Makes total sense. So obviously the journey with Fuka has taken us to the pleasure market, to the match market, almost accidentally, because you've always said you're a carp angler.
I am a carp angler.
Who likes catching carp quickly.
Yes, because I didn't know this until a few years ago, but I'm ADHD, therefore I'm very, very impatient. I don't like waiting. I'm a fidgeter, and so I want to get fish quickly. And you asked me earlier whether that helped me, being on a spectrum helped me. It helped me in so many different ways. I mean, I only recently realised that being ADHD and therefore being impatient meant that all the products I ever designed had to work really, really quickly, efficiently, smoothly and easily. So if someone came to me at Preston Innovations and said, here's something that goes in this bag, I'd make sure they made the bag bigger than they were going to make it, because, well, we've all experienced trying to get sleeping bags inside a bag. It's just a nightmare. So it helped me design things really, really efficiently. This is what I've applied to this range of baits. All the baits are designed to catch fish quickly, or give you the best chance of catching fish quickly. So they've got the micelle technology, the fish accelerant in there, which has got all the attractants piggybacked onto those tiny particles, so they get out there quick. And various, well, a lot of the products that we do, like for instance the 𝗲𝗶𝗺𝗶𝗵, the fish accelerant and the attractants is on the outside in a paste, and that dissolves really quickly, and so that helps the fish accelerant be released and do its job. Whereas if it was locked inside a hard boilie, it'd never get out.
By the time this video comes out, there's probably going to be loads more prototype products out there, because this is moving at the rate of knots really. But what's surprised me is the sheer variety in the range. To say we've only a few products out there for carp anglers at the moment, with everything from a glug to a boiler coating powder, with a stick mix, with some big sort of boiler pellets, and even some activation solution to help you ferment things.
Well, it's just interesting to me. So I'm always exploring what is possible. So I'll just grab a couple of these. So there you are, at random. That is a prototype boilie coating powder. So we give this away to people on the Fuka Carpers Facebook group, and it's just really good, because you can actually, I've made this so that you can coat your boilers within, well, I've timed it, it's 50 seconds on the bank. Really easy to coat your boilers, which are pretty dead and inert I don't care what anyone says. The whole idea about boilies is that everything is harder than a small fish can get into, and so that also locks all the smells and flavours and everything else in. This stuff actually goes on the outside of a boilie and starts doing its work instantly, releasing all the attractants courtesy of the fish accelerant into the water. It's just really good, and the results that anglers are getting and the feedback that they're giving me is, I think I've nailed it in one actually, by the looks of it. So that's a good example of fish accelerant doing its work, and the actual design of this bait, or bait enhancer, doing its work by releasing that fish accelerant. So that's a really good one. These are pre-paste wrapped prototype boilies, and they're basically like what this does, but already done. These are carp boilie pallets. Now, not everybody wants to go and fish overnight, cast out a bait and know it's there all through the night, because that's how boilies come into it. They want the security that stays on the hook or round the hook. Not everybody wants to fish like that. These things, they're quite hard, but they're baiting needle friendly, but they soften from the outside, releasing all the fish attractant, the fish accelerant. You wouldn't want to leave them out overnight, but when you're fishing in a day session, you're on the fish, they do catch really quickly, quicker than a lot of other things like normal boilies. So they're really good. This is the, like, I was just interested. So this is something, it's a ferment starter, basically. So if you want to ferment various baits, like for instance, I love it on cut maize. It will enhance the attractiveness of cut maize, which is already very attractive to carp. It's full of lysine and all sorts of stuff. This stuff breaks down a lot of the food materials that make up maize, for example, into soluble products. So it's like being hydrolyzed, and that releases all these attractants into the water. Now that there is enough to ferment probably about 40 kilos of cut maize. And because it's a prototype, and I want people to use it and give me the feedback, because I really don't know whether it's a product that people would be interested in, a bait that people would be interested in. I'll sell that for I think it's £3 on the Club Fuka, which is linked to the Fuka Carpers Facebook group, and that must be the cheapest, make the cheapest, best bait out. It's like fermented cut maize. You just use it like hemp. I mean, it's turbocharged. So yeah, so I don't know whether that's even a runner. That's why I made it. Let's see what happens. If people are interested, they will keep telling me, yeah, I like this. If they don't like it, they will say, well, I don't know, it's not really my thing. So that's a good example. I know it's a bit outlandish, but there you have it. And there's a lot of other things.
So just to be clear, for people to get their hands on this stuff, there's Club Fuka, which people sign up to on the website if you're not on social media, so you can sign up to that on fuka.com.
Yeah.
But if you are on social media, specifically Facebook, the Fuka Carpers Facebook group is the place to head, isn't it? Because that's where all this feedback takes place.
Yeah, we give away a lot of prototypes on there, and it's the hub of creativity and feedback for me. It's a very active place. I love interacting with it. I love having a look at my phone. I'm a sad old person who's perhaps a little bit young at heart, and seeing all the different people saying, I've been fishing with this and this is what happened. You know, whether it was good or bad. I mean, I like bad news as much as good news. In fact, sometimes more, because it tells me how to actually correct something and make it better. So yeah, so Club Fuka is on the Fuka online shop, and we sell the prototypes on there for half the price, because that way I get more of it out there to help me get the feedback to develop the products. The range is coming on really nice. I'm not really good at listing things off, but we've got a revolutionary stick mix in there. We've got these pellets and the coating powder. The thing that you could call a glug if you like. It's really, really thick liquid fish accelerant. And it just works differently from the other stuff we do. Sensate fish accelerant is more running. This stuff's really thick, and it's got the big carp attractors embedded in it, and that's proving to be very, very successful as well. There's a lot of big carp. Considering we've only got a few thousand members at this point, it's going to go up and up and up. It's amazing just how many people are out there fishing and catching well.
We've talked a lot about your sort of business interests and you personally and how you've developed these baits. What we haven't talked about is your own fishing, and I do know that in testing you've actually caught some pretty special fish on Fish Accelerant.
Wow. Well, I think you're talking about the two biggest fish out of Ashmead, which I caught it's a long time ago now. It's about 10 or 12 years ago. But I've always been experimenting with not just rigs and tackle and tactics, but also with baits. Baits are a big thing to me. And so the precursor to Fish Accelerant was back then on Ashmead, and even I find this a bit unbelievable because there's a lot of luck involved in it. But it wasn't just luck; it was because I was doing things differently. I caught a single scale on a piece of wood. It was only a tiny piece of wood. It was a little slither of wood, about 5mm by 5mm by about 15mm long. And what I'd done is I dried it out so that it lost about 50 or 60% of its weight. All the moisture went off it, and then I soaked it in what has developed into Fish Accelerant, so that it sucked all that stuff up, under the idea that to a carp, it doesn't know it's a piece of wood. It doesn't know it's inedible. It's like when they go for a pop-up, they don't know it's not actually nutritionally useful to them. All they can go by is the taste and the smell, and this tasted and smelled well. And I fished Ashmead I was a syndicate member, and I fished it for one night, and I caught moon scale. And then I fished it another night, a week later, and I caught single scale. They're the only fish for it was less than a day each. They're the only two times I fished on the whole year, and I caught only two fish, the two biggest. Now there's a hell of a lot of luck involved in that, obviously, but there's something else going on there as well to do that. And then other times I joined Fox Pool, which is near Newport, my hometown, a long time ago. And I was just there to have a little scout around. My way of scouting around is to have a look around and then cast out, and you never know, you might catch something, but I'm just using that as an excuse to look around and see what happens, see if there's any fish leap, and one did. And I saw a fish leap, went over there. I thought, I'm just pre-baiting, stuck like about 5 kilos of boilies with this stuff on, the Fish Accelerant type stuff, and didn't think I'd actually catch anything, but it must have stuffed a lot of those boilies down it, because I caught the biggest carp in there, so I was only been there for about 2 hours. And then the next day I went and caught the third biggest carp. So there is something here. I mean, there's a lot of luck involved in this, but there's something else as well.
It's I mean, personally, obviously, I'm no real interest in carp fishing. I'm a match angler, but we've definitely seen it on the match side. You know, the effect that the Fish Accelerant and the Sensate attractants as well have had. You know, incredible catches. 𝗃𝗶𝗺𝗵, myself. You know, lots of fish caught, and now we can see it really having an impact on the carp fishing side as well.
Yeah, it's looking really well. I mean, people are just going out there and trying it and catching, and then there's some carp joining in, splashing in the background there. Yeah, so I mean, there's thousands and thousands of anglers using Fuka bait designed for match and pleasure fishing and general angling, and that's a lot of feedback that I'm getting, showing that this stuff really does work. It's not just my opinion.
David, that's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much. And for more information on the Fuka carpers, either head over to the Fuka Carpers Facebook group if you're on social media, or it's fuka.com and join Club Fuka, where we'll keep you up to date on everything via email.